3, 4.
Hi everyone, I'm MrPuckett, and welcome to Puckett Week. This is the most special week of the year for both me and my dogs, and I wanted to invite you to do something incredibly special with us. Today we're going to be helping out a local organization in my area that does so much good for the community. I cannot wait to give back. If you're not sure what Puckett Week is, or even what a Puckett is, don't worry about that. Let's take a quick look at why this week is so special to us. This was my longtime best friend, MrPuckett the dog. He's the reason the channel is named this. He was my best friend for almost 13 years and gained some popularity on a meme and gift sharing website. Over 25 million views in the first year, and posts made by thousands. With all that popularity and views, we started to do supply drives and fundraisers. The first one started out as Blankets for Benji, where we sent supplies to an animal shelter in Iowa. It was small, but we kept at it. After that, it got out of control, with a supply drive for an elementary school in Tennessee with over 500 boxes of supplies that showed up. And then we knew we had something. So we kept going. More supplies to more people who needed them. We did a homeless shelter in Minnesota, where people all over the world sent in supplies. It started small, but every time they grew just a little bit bigger. We then started raising money for a homeless shelter in Columbia, Tennessee, and finished at over $7,000 that week and hundreds of more boxes of supplies. Again, started small, but it seemed like the more we promoted it, the more people wanted to give back in any way they could. Over that year, we sent over 1,000 boxes of supplies to schools and homeless shelters across the country. MrPuckett the dog died last year, February 18th, and it was one of the saddest days in that website's history. An outpouring of love for a dog that became the face of everything wholesome. He was all I had. I didn't waste much time. The same day he died, I decided to go out and find a new best friend. And I found her, Mrs. Puckett, on February 18th. She was my new everything. But we didn't stop there. We decided to find Puckett Jr, a small dog in a Nashville shelter that looked quite a bit like MrPuckett did, whose birthday was February 18th. MrPuckett died, Mrs. Puckett was rescued, and PJ was born, all on the same day. Puckett Day. So we've declared this Puckett Week, and we're using it as an excuse to give back to our community. But I didn't know how. I didn't know who to give back to. So I put a note on the local Facebook page, where I reached out to everybody in my community to find out who needed help and who was really worthy, who was doing an amazing job in our community. And that's when I found them. Now I got so many answers, so many suggestions on that Facebook post that I was overwhelmed. Every supply drive and fundraiser I had done in the past was either through somebody contacting me to ask for my help, or me finding it on the internet and saying, hey, this is a cause that we would like to go ahead and do everything we can for. So to look through dozens of places that we could help and try to narrow it down to find one was a really tough situation, because every single suggestion was worthy of our help. So I went through this for a couple of days until somebody commented late on the post about the Mary Parrish Center. something I've never seen, and it's right here in my neighborhood in Nashville. So I went on their website, and of all the research I did of all of these places, their website stuck out the most to me because of one single stat that said 1 in 4 women will suffer through interpersonal violence at some point in their life, and 1 in 5 men. Interpersonal violence is anything from domestic violence, dating violence, or sexual assault. And we're talking about 25% of women and 20% of men. And that was something that was completely ignorant to me. I had no idea. If you would have asked me to guess those statistics a week ago, I probably would have cut them, to 10% and said it was 1 in 40 and 1 in 50. So to hear it be so prevalent really struck a chord in me because I have no idea how to help. What can we possibly do to get those numbers down? So instead of me doing that, let's take a look at what Mary Parrish does to help victims and survivors of interpersonal violence. The Mary Parrish Center, way back in 2009, before 2009, was working with people on orders of protection. So if you got out of an abusive relationship or a domestic violence situation, they would help you through the courts to put distance between your abuser and you. And in 2009, they started to look more at housing opportunities because we learned that the leading cause of homelessness for women in America is domestic violence. And it blew me away. For anybody who's been watching this channel for a while, you know I was homeless for 4 years. I lived on the streets in both Seattle and Minneapolis all by myself. But to think of a woman doing that after getting out of a horrifying situation and then going to a horrifying situation on the street and everything that happened to me when I was homeless and trying to picture a woman, a survivor, having to go through that. And then children too, to take the children with you and be homeless. It left me speechless. It really did. So in 2009, Mary Parrish started transitional housing, which is not a shelter. It's the most amazing thing. They actually offer apartment homes, these beautiful apartment homes to people affected by interpersonal violence. It's usually women. They are open to men though, and even their children. So these apartment homes, these survivors can live in for up to a year, and Mary Parrish offers so many more services while they're there. Everything from employment services to therapy, emergency financial assistance, and then they also provide everyday common items. So toiletries, clothing, food, and in these apartments, they're fully stocked. So they have couches and beds and sheets and silverware and all these things that you have to fill up an apartment with. Now, they've offered comprehensive services to over 7,000 people so far, 7,000 survivors, and they're right here in my neighborhood in Nashville. So they're an incredible organization, and what we're going to do today to help them is just like we did in the past, supply drives and fundraisers. The Mary Parrish Center, I called them up and talked to their executive director. She was super stoked to hear about all this, although she was a little unsure of what the heck was going on at first and asked who MrPuckett was and what the heck all this was about. But when she finally got down to it, they're going to make an Amazon wish list for us. So that'll be everything from toiletries and food and clothing, but also something unique that this place does is when you get out of this transitional housing, let's say you get a job in a new apartment and you get to move out of this transitional apartment, you get to take most of these belongings with you. So everything in the kitchen, the pots and pans, the silverware, the towels, the bed sheets, all of that is yours so that you don't have to start over again once you're out of transitional housing. So we'll also be sending a lot of those items for all of the new survivors that come into these apartments so they can be fully furnished and have everything they need to cook a meal and feel just a little bit of normalness for once. In addition to that, we're also going to have a fundraising campaign that they're setting up for us. So if anybody would rather do the financial route, you can certainly do that. I will be having this all over social media on every channel that you've ever seen me on and suggesting people donate $15, because that was the age MrPuckett was when he passed away. And I think if we get as many views on this as we normally did, if we go way and above 250,000 views, then we only need a small percentage of people to donate that $15 to make an incredible difference, not only for the Mary Parrish Center, but for all the survivors out there who are facing homelessness. So with that being said, let's take a little bit longer look at what Mary Parrish has for these apartment homes. We actually have video from inside the apartment and a couple of words from one of the survivors who went through this transitional housing program. Let's take a look. Meet Summer, a survivor of interpersonal violence. Her biggest fear while living in an abusive relationship was being homeless with her children, and that fear kept her in the abusive situation. It's unfortunately an all too common problem with victims in this country. She found the Mary Parrish Center and lived in their transitional housing for over a year with her 2 children. During that time, she was able to find good employment and move on with her life. Her entire life has turned around, thanks to the Mary Parrish Center. A quote from Summer: "When you're in an abusive relationship, you feel like there are 2 options. Either stay with your abuser or be homeless. Transitional housing gave her a 3rd option, to be safe with her children and start her life again comfortably. 4 years after living with Mary Parrish, she's now a member of their board of directors." All right, so that's the Mary Parrish Center right here in Nashville, Tennessee. They do so much good for this community that I'm excited to be able to give back. So what I'll do is pin a comment down below. It'll be right at the top with information linked to the supply drive. This is important to get everybody in this transitional housing the supplies they need to live a happy and normal life as they get back on their feet. And then I'll also put the donation link. This is so cool. They even created a campaign on their website. So when you click this link and you actually go to donate, one of the drop-down options for why you're donating is going to be Puckett Week. And I thought that was the coolest thing. That made me so happy that today, I'm recording this video today on Thursday the 18th, the day Mr. Puckett passed away last year. And we have a campaign called Puckett Week to give back. And it's a great feeling. So he died at 15 years old. I went ahead and donated $15 for every day this week. And I encourage anybody who can donate $15, even if just one time, to go ahead and do so. It makes a huge difference. The more of us that get together, it's just going to be fantastic to be able to see how happy they are when they have all these supplies given to them and fundraising to do so much more. So thank you so much for checking out this video. Something that's so important to me to see other people have it important to them as well as I talk about it. It is a really wonderful feeling. It makes me feel a whole lot less alone. I tell my dogs about the Mary Parrish Center, but they're not the best conversationalists. So here's another way you can help if you can't donate or if you can't use a supply drive today is just word of mouth. Simple things like upvoting this video, leaving a comment below so the algorithm shows it to more people, or taking the 2 links that are in my pinned comment and putting them on Facebook or putting them on Twitter or anywhere you can. Word of mouth is such a huge deal here. I'll have it everywhere, and it's just a matter of how many people see it for how much good we can do. So thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Thank you even more for your help. This is such a great thing. I'm so happy, and I don't have anything left to say about it. So it's a snowy day in Nashville. We got out for a long run today, and I'll leave you with a couple of clips from our runs here in snowy Nashville, Tennessee. And besides that, I'll make another video when we're all set with the supply drive and we see the results and how much good we did for the Mary Parrish Center. Have a beautiful evening, everyone.